is Michigan Football Overreaction Sunday after the Wolverines 35-7 win yesterday afternoon over UNLV, where JJ McCarthy frankly looked flawless for big parts of the game, was nearly flawless in the first half. But there are some concerns about the running game. Some people are like, why did they give up points in the fourth quarter again to a lesser opponent? Michigan really is just a couple snaps away from maybe having two straight shutouts to start this 2023 season. But the Wolverines are 2-0. We were live for the entire game yesterday, the Michigan Football Report watch party. But I'm going to ask you guys this question. What is your biggest overreaction? It's like Overreaction Sunday. It's not meant to be rational. So we did it a little bit different this time. I'll tell you about that in a second. But go give me your biggest overreaction. Thing is like, gosh, what am I complaining about? What am I excited about, right? I think there's obviously ways you can be super positive or super negative on a bunch of different topics. So we scoured through some replies to our social media after the game and then filming here on a Sunday morning to bring you guys the latest. It's the Michigan Football Overreaction Sunday. First one coming in from Mich Wolverine 1, a.k.a. Richard, not down bad right now. Sometimes, I like Richard on Twitter. Sometimes he's a little negative Nancy. That's fine. He basically said this: Michigan won't win the Big Ten playing like this, period. I mean, have you watched Ohio State? Have you watched Nebraska, Minnesota? I mean, Nebraska's 0-2, whatever. Wisconsin, okay, cool. I don't know if that's true. Obviously, Penn State with their cupcake schedule has looked a little bit stronger maybe than Michigan has. They dropped 60-plus yesterday. That's fine. But, I mean, these are pretty good numbers here. Michigan, 492 yards of offense. And the game is moving a little faster. I will admit that the game is moving a little faster with the new clock rules where the clock does not stop after a first down. 13 yards passing. JJ McCarthy, nearly flawless in the first half, 22 of 25, folks. He is now 48 of 55 through two games. Michigan, 33 yards, 33 carries yesterday on that game against UNLV. But the very big score was this: JJ McCarthy, 22 of 25, 278 yards. This comes a week after he was 26 of 30 for 280 yards against East Carolina. 2 touchdowns in the day, both to Roman Wilson. Who were the touchdowns to last week? They were also to Roman Wilson. 5 touchdown connections between those two players in about 6 quarters of work, right? Neither guy really played in the fourth quarter of either game. I like this comment here from @6aller. McCarthy is a legit Heisman contender. How can you argue with that at this point? 7 incompletions, 48 of 55. Just shy, 42 yards shy of 600 yards, 5 touchdowns, no interceptions through 2 games. He was, I think, flawless, like 17 of 38 in the first, 17 of 18, in the first half, 22 of 25 for the game. He looked in command. He definitely looked in command in the red zone. I think that's been the most impressive part of J.J. McCarthy, his red zone passing, mostly to Roman Wilson, of course, as those two have connected 4 times for touchdowns in the red zone in 2 games. Another one, we just waited Wilson to kind of drag right to left in the field, hit him, and Wilson just floated down the sideline. Didn't look like he had a care in the world to score his second touchdown. So thank you so much for @6aller for that reaction. Brevin Glaze said this one: need to accept that we are a passing team. No disrespect to the run game, but the Joe Moore Award mentality needs to get out. The more teams fear us in the air means the run game is wide open, and the country already knows how scary that can be. Fair enough. Michigan's done well through the passing game. It's not that they're throwing up 500 yards, but they're throwing up 200 plus in the first half, then just kind of letting things ride. A few passes here, a few passes there in the second half. Roman Wilson, story of the game, really maybe story of the season in college football in some regards, depending on what your takeaways are. He's got 5 touchdowns through 2 games, 4 catches, 89 yards on the day yesterday versus UNLV. Cornelius Johnson added 5 catches. The distribution, right? When you have multiple games with multiple players with 4, 5 plus catches on the day, I think you've got to be really excited about the future of this program. 8 different Wolverines caught balls yesterday. Roman Wilson, Cornelius Johnson, Tyler Morris making an impact. Got some playing time last week, but didn't really make much of an impact. Samaj Morgan, he got a catch late from Davis Warren, right? So J.J. McCarthy throws 7 passes to 7 different Wolverines, and then the third stringer. Or no, it was actually Jaden Denegal. I'm sorry, that's right. It wasn't one of the backups. It was Jaden Denegal came in as the 4th string quarterback in the game. Jack Tuttle took a hit after one play and was out of that one. And then Davis Warren. Jaden Denegal connected with Samaj Morgan for 35 yards. Donovan Edwards, 5 for 26. Blake Corum, 2 catches for 23 yards. A.J. Barner and Colston Loveland, 1 catch for Barner, 2 catches for Colston Loveland. Guys, Mike Hart was the head coach in the second half for this game. So I want you guys to grade him as a head coach. Third quarter, fourth quarter, right? Head quote, single quotes for them for head coach. Give me a scale 1 to 10 for Mike Hart. I would say Jay Harbaugh the first half was like a 9. I think Mike Hart was probably like a 7.5, right? Because Michigan was already up by 3-4 scores. He didn't really have to push the envelope too much. But let me know what you guys think down in the comments. Next question coming in from Mr. Shavocado at Alex Davison with 2 S's. Corum is washed. Can't even break 100. Wow, this is a tough one here. You might be an Ohio State fan based on that profile picture. Incredibly lucky. This game was against UNLV and not a real powerhouse team like Youngstown State. Clearly an Ohio State fan. 15 carries for Corum. I don't think Corum's washed. I actually think early on, there were questions last week after coming out of that first game about, hey, is Corum 100%? Did he lose did he lose one of these, right? Should Blake Corum, right? That's what we know him for. Did he lose that? I didn't think so. I thought right out of the gate, he looked sharp. There was a 3rd and 7 on Michigan's first touchdown drive where he came blasting out of the backfield, got Michigan down inside the 5. They went hurry up, gave him to him on the next play, got his first touchdown of the day, got his second touchdown of the day later on, and then his third. Look, the difference between Michigan with and without Blake Corum is their ability to score touchdowns inside the 5-yard line. When Blake Corum's in the game, they pretty much do it every time. When he's not in the game, they pretty much struggle every time. I mean, it's that binary. It's yes, no. Yes, no. TCU game. Blake Corum in the game? No. Do they score touchdowns inside the 5? No, they do not. And that's just how things shake out. So I don't think Blake Corum is as productive right now through 2 games as he was through 2 games last year, let's just say. But nevertheless, I have my doubts of him being 100% have kind of taken a step back after what we saw when he was in the game against UNLV. Authentic. Like, what does that say? Donovan Edwards has taken a massive step backwards. Look, the Don, I got the jersey. I've been waiting for 2 weeks. We're going to wear Donovan Edwards' jersey. I'm going to put it on the second he scores a touchdown. Well, he hasn't scored. And he had 6 carries for 9 yards in this game. I mean, I don't know if I can really argue with what Authentic says there. I think Donovan Edwards does not seem to be the same guy who dropped 550-plus yards against Ohio State, Purdue, TCU. Looked unstoppable in the fourth quarter against Ohio State. Looked untackleable at times against Purdue. Shot out of a cannon against TCU, the first play of the game, really. And he had 5 catches for 26 yards, 6 carries for 9 yards. So 35 yards on 11 touches. He hasn't done anything. He looks like he's hesitant. He looks like when he gets to the line after he kicks the ball, he's like, where's that big, massive hole that Zach Zinter and Olu Olatimi opened up for me against Ohio State in the fourth quarter? Not there. I'm just going to slam my head into the wall and see what happens. So some overreactions there from Michigan football fans and Ohio State fans. Some trolls there on Ohio State. Michigan running backs, Blake Corum, Donovan Edwards, and then, of course, the performance from JJ McCarthy. Guys, I lost again. Michigan gave up a touchdown late, and they didn't score after the third quarter. So I didn't win against my second $100 bet against this team, or for this team, I should say. They didn't cover last week against East Carolina. They didn't cover against UNLV, but you can cover, and you can get the best sportsbook promotion in the game. Use promo code GOBLUE at chatsports.com/bet. That'll redirect you to this promotion for BetUS, our sportsbook partner. Use promo code GOBLUE, no spaces. You got to use that link, chatsports.com/GoBlue, and then you get this awesome deal. Maybe over next week, chatsports.com/GoBlue. Use promo code GOBLUE. Deposit $100 or more. You get a 125% deposit bonus. Plus, make your first bet. Email us, jersey@chatsports.com, and you will get a free Michigan football Jordan brand #1 jersey. So get going, BetUS. Get the 125% deposit bonus, and email us. Use the link. Don't turn us into a customer service hassle. Use the link so it tracks your account. Email us, jersey@chatsports.com. We'll get your information, get your size, your address. We'll ship one of these bad boys off to you. Chatsports.com/GoBlue. Your promo code is GoBlue. Mike Layton says, hashtag Michigan and hashtag Michigan, as Bob Ufer used to say. I think we're keeping it simple, leaving nothing for opponents to tape. JJ cooking is only opening up the run game. Your thoughts? It sounds like Lloyd Carrier, comments to me, Mike. I appreciate the comment. I don't disagree with you, but I don't know why they would be doing that. Michigan should fear no one, whether they show you the game plan or not. And this is UNLV. So I don't think you need to go into your bag of tricks against UNLV to still be able to run the ball 150, 160, 180, 200 yards. So I think in some regards, they have used these first two games to open up the passing game. Michigan seems much more aggressive passing the ball in two games against lesser opponents than maybe they've ever been in recent memory. But the lack of running game is a concern because what has typically happened for Michigan in these blowout type of out-of-conference games is once you get into the third quarter, it's just 15 yards, 20 yards, 8 yards, 30 yards, 12 yards, touchdown, 17 yards, 25 yards, 42 yards, 6 yards, touchdown. And that hasn't happened in two games on the ground for this Michigan team. All right, you had a good passing game. You had over 300 yards passing. JJ McCarthy is right at that 280 mark, 280, 278. But Blake Corum, Donovan Edwards, you could not tell me if you were an outside college football fan, you just, hey, I took somebody from 10 years ago, transported them to the future, watched Michigan's first two games. There is no way in hell that you would say, oh, these two running backs and this offensive line, this is what people were saying is the best running back offensive line combo the college football scene in over a decade. There's no way you would think that. So I'm a little disappointed in the performance of the offensive line. I don't just think it's Michigan holding anything back at this point. The Lost Angels said, I don't think, and this was a super chat, I think, too, Jack. So shout out to the Lost Angels for the super chat. And if you are watching, Jack, remind me, it was, I'm going to look at our T-shirt winner. We gave away the Harbaugh T-shirt award winner. It was Outdoor Montana. So Outdoor Montana, reply to a comment in this video or DM me on Twitter or Instagram. It's at James Yoder on Twitter or at Michigan Football Report on Instagram. Let's get you that free Harbaugh T-shirt. He says, I don't think they're about running up the score anymore. They aren't going to run the running back last year since JJ is excellent. Now, good points. I don't think they correlate as simply as we put them here. They ran the ball still, just they weren't successful in doing it a lot of times. So I'm not sure. You can't tell me that JJ McCarthy, Donovan Edwards, 6 carries for 9 yards after having 20, 30 yards last week. You can't tell me that just because Michigan is not running up the score or that they're not being aggressive with the running ball or they're hiding any plays or anything like that. They just haven't done it, right? It's just as simple as that. Blake Corum's broken off 3, maybe 3.5 runs that are just those kind of Blake Corum breaks outside, cuts a tackle, cuts left. The Don has done none of it. And he's had 9 catches through 2 games, but none of them have been very impactful. So I am a little bit concerned about the performance of Edwards and Corum. Despite Corum having 4 touchdowns, Edwards has done nearly nothing. And I think that's a big part of this Michigan football offense that needs to click if they're going to beat Penn State on the road, Michigan State on the road, Ohio State at home, national championship, college football playoff, et cetera, et cetera. If you guys want to be with me for this entire Michigan football season on the road to Houston or bust, make sure you subscribe. It's youtube.com/Michigan TV. Do it now. Subscribe to the channel. Because if not, I don't know. You just won't enjoy our content as much. And we need to keep the subs going up if we want to have daily videos between now and February 7th, National Signing Day. Dan Barks. It's almost like a verb. Dan Barks. James speaks. Dan Barks. Offensive line is a tad concerning as they seem to not have figured out how to own stack boxes yet in the run game. Still have time to work on it, but love the passing game, and the defense made a lot of plays today. Look, the defense looked great. I think the defense looked awesome in a lot of ways, even without a couple starters out. We see Rod Moore, Makari Page was out. Will Johnson was in there a little bit. Defensive line across the board, absolutely crushed. But the offensive line, here was your starting lineup for the second week in a row. Carson Barnhart, Trevor Keegan, Drake Nugent, Zach Cinder, Miles Hinton. I saw more out of Miles Hinton. Saw a better push from him than we saw last week when I thought he got burned a few times. He was in the starting lineup once again, but will he remain there? I think things kind of can change on a week-to-week basis. We saw last year that Trente Jones lost his starting job after the first few games of the year. Miles Hinton kept the job for week 2, but maybe Michigan will switch things up as we go along. But I think Didn't seem to be any pause on Michigan's side with Jerome Moore coming back, offensive line coach, with Miles Hinton being in the starting lineup for this team. Question coming in, or comment, I guess we should say. Team B, 3 Heisman candidates: Wilson, Corum, and McCarthy. Yuck. I mean, what's to argue? I mean, Roman Wilson has been up there with one of the most impressive wide receivers in all of college football over 2 games. 4 catches for 89 yards, but the 2 touchdowns. 3 touchdowns last week. 5 touchdowns over 2 games to start a season for a Michigan football wide receiver. He has more touchdowns, guys, in 2 games than he has had in his every season prior at Michigan, right? More touchdown receptions in 2 games this season than he has had in any season prior to this one. So he clearly has leveled up. I think JJ McCarthy as well has leveled up. Blake Corum, 3 touchdowns. You can toss McCarthy's up there, Corum, whatever you want there, Jack. Producer Jack, behind the scenes with me, we did our live watch party yesterday. Blake Corum, 3 touchdowns. So he's got 4 through 3 games. I think if you look at the touchdowns, they really highly concentrated on 3 guys, right? The 3 guys that he's talking about. Blake Corum has 4 touchdowns in the 2 games. Roman Wilson has 5 touchdowns in 2 games. JJ McCarthy himself has 5 touchdowns in 2 games, and he only has 7 incompletions. I mean, he is absolutely on fire, leading the nation in completion percentage. JJ McCarthy, Heisman candidate, he's got to be the leader at this point because it's such a whoa, did you see JJ McCarthy? Everyone expects Blake Corum. Everyone expects Blake Corum to have 2 touchdowns, 3 touchdowns against a team like UNLV, against a team like East Carolina. But the surprising stuff is what JJ McCarthy, what Roman Wilson are doing. But I'll ask you guys this question. How many touchdowns, passing attempts will JJ McCarthy have next week, the night game against Bowling Green? 25 this week, 30 last week. I mean, you'd love to see JJ McCarthy in some games this year get up to 35, 38 passing, but not against these teams. So I'm going to kind of stay in that range. I'm going to say 26 is my number. But let me know what you guys think down in the comments. How many passing attempts for JJ McCarthy next week against Bowling Green? Night game, we'll do a watch party here on the channel. So we'll be live about 30 minutes prior to the game, 7 p.m. Eastern. Heidi Stahl. Second and third string needs to work if they will be taking over. It should have been a shutout. I understand they need experience, but oh my. One of the biggest overreactions I've seen that I do really agree with is through 2 games, the backups have kind of stunk. They haven't done anything on offense. They've given up points in defense. Now, why does that matter? Well, this team is going to lose so many starters after this season. You could lose 10 of 11 starters on offense. You could lose 8 starters, 7 starters, 8 starters on defense, depending on 1 or 2 guys here and there. And so you can only have 5 or 6 starters returning on the entire roster next year. So if the backups can't move the ball against East Carolina, next year is a little questionable whether this is an 8-win team, a 10-win team, or maybe even a 6-win team. I don't think after what Harbaugh went through in 2020 and the Ohio State games in 2018 and 2019 that he won his mind and let this team fall back to like a 7-5 team or something like that. But I don't know. It's not as deep of a team as I thought. Or there's playing so many guys that they think are starters, like 17, 16, 18 guys on defense, on offense, that when they put in the backups, it's not necessarily always just the second stringers. Some positions, it's the third stringers, like running back, like tight end, like linebacker, like defensive end. So that could be a little bit of it, whereas the second stringers are playing as almost quasi-starters at a lot of positions, so they're pulling them out. Defensive end, for instance, we've got 4 guys who are getting starter snaps at this point. So if they're pulling the starters in the third quarter, maybe that includes the first stringers and the second stringers. I don't know if Michigan really considers it that way, but as a fan, you may be breathing a little easier if you think about it from that perspective. Guys, we are 576 subscribers away from 28,000. So if you've yet to do so, it's the Michigan Football Report by Chat Sports. You got to hit that subscribe button. We've got daily videos, weekly live shows, and the most news, rumors, and insight into the Michigan football program. We were the most watched channel, most watched show, consumed show, podcast, TV, radio, or YouTube in 2022. Let's do it again in 2023. Subscribe to the channel now. We will have another video for you on Monday, Tuesday, and then live again on Wednesday. So let me know what you guys think on this football team down in the comments. Until I see you then, go Blue.